Good morning, everybody. So this new podcast is coming out a bit sooner than we thought it would. If you remember from the last one, we mentioned, oh yeah, maybe a week or a month. This is just in a few days. Actually, about 24 hours. So, the reason this is coming out is because the whole Condres OS and Reborn possibly merging idea has been sorted out much quicker than we initially thought. About 3-4 days ago, I had started a team vote on our for everyone on our team to see what they thought, and because we are a team, we decided we would abide by whatever vote was decided. And the majority decided that we weren't too thrilled about the idea of a full merge. Not anything against the Condres OS team, they're fabulous, but mainly more of our overarching goals. For instance, they would wish to one of their goals is to delay updates a little bit to increase stability, kind of like the Manjaro idea. So their Arch packages are generally delayed. I don't know, maybe a week. Sometimes I think they mentioned some can be up to 2 or 3 weeks. So very similar idea as Manjaro, and we weren't exactly going for that idea. Similarly with Manjaro, they use Calamares as their installer, and with it they only offer 3 or 4 desktop environments. I could be wrong, it could be 5, but not nearly the 15 that we do. And so that would be a limitation for some people who might be using some desktops that they don't offer. I'm sure we could probably work something out and offer more, but still I feel like we would leave some people by the wayside just as a net result of it, and we didn't really want to do that. In addition, they directly stated, and I quote, that independence from Arch, end of quotations right there, is one of their biggest goals. And while we certainly want to make things as easy as possible for the everyday person, we've never really had that as our big goal that we're working towards. We want to make Arch easier for the average individual, rather than move away from it fully. Of course, they would still use a lot of Arch's packages, but just like Manjaro is Arch-based, but not technically Arch, it's the same idea. They want to ultimately take it a step further than Manjaro and just be completely independent. Those are great goals. I completely encourage anyone interested to try them out, give them a go, but due to some of those technicalities and differences in our overarching goal, we thought that there might be conflict down the road if we were to fully merge, and we wanted to avoid that. That's not to say that we decided not to work with them, though, because, like many of you have mentioned to us, we realize the value in bringing people together and having more ideas, and the free flow of ideas between teams and being there to help each other out when needed. And so, even though the overall vote was not to fully merge, we still decided it would be beneficial for everyone, you, us, them, everyone included in this, to, at the very least, work together towards some goals that we do agree on, such as it would be an interesting option to offer sometime down the road. Their repository is not quite full enough yet, I don't think, but sometime down the road, it would be interesting to maybe allow the option in our installer to use their repository instead of Arch's. Maybe if you're looking for the overall experience of Reborn, but with some slightly delayed updates and a more stable system. So that's something that we're thinking about as an option right now. It would certainly be interesting. I'm not sure how it would play out necessarily, but something to think about. So we thought maybe we could do that, and If anyone has looked at their KDE default configuration, it's really interesting. We're thinking of, as requested by a few people actually, to maybe take that and use it as an inspiration to modify our KDE default configuration. We think we'll probably stay closer to the default, so that to give you guys the freedom to change it however you want, so that when you first boot up into KDE, it's more or less the system default, the same experience that people using KDE Plasma, the would experience. And so, yeah, we certainly plan on improving it though, and maybe using them as an inspiration in that. We'll be keeping in touch for sure, and the free flow of ideas will be maintained. We'll definitely keep in contact. They'll be telling us about what they're doing. We'll be telling them about what we're doing, and helping each other out. We're not entirely sure what they plan to do, if they plan to take much of our work or not, but that's the overall goal. So yeah, we were able to get something going which includes the best of both worlds. This compromise may not leave everyone happy, and I'm sorry, but at least we have some of both in it. We didn't fully merge, and we didn't fully abandon them either. Hopefully, at least there's a little bit of victory for everyone, no matter what your stance was, and we can go from there. Of course, the future is not set in stone. Things could shift, things could change. For anyone unhappy with this, you're not without hope. Depending on how everything goes, it could very well change down the road. We could either work even closer with them, or maybe further away and more independent. Not entirely sure. But at this point, at least, we'll be able to work closely together on a lot of things that matter, and yet remain Reborn. So, with that aside, we also have that RUM update out now, the one that I had referenced earlier that would have those nice tooltips for you guys. Remember that? Yeah, so we finally have that out. Should be available if you just either update through PAMAC, KDE Discover, whichever you want to use. You could even do it from the terminal, sudo pacman -SYYU. I often use the -- force option on the end. It is depreciated and not recommended for everyone. However, if you're getting errors, sometimes that can be helpful. Just by the sheer name of that option, though, you can probably see why it's dangerous. However, with Arch, you're the one in control, so sometimes it can be necessary. Yeah, anyways, I guess that was kind of a tangent, but basically, the new update for RUM, Reborn Updates the Maintenance, for anyone that did not watch the last podcast, is out now. The tooltips are much more informative. For instance, one of our options, let's see, pulling it up here. Okay. Our top option in system maintenance, the clear cache option, now if you hover over it, it tells you it removes uninstalled packages as well as uninstalled package tarballs from your system. For anyone that's curious, like, what in the world is a tarball? A tarball is the initial compressed set of files that are pulled down when you go to install something. So when you go to install something on Arch, what happens in the background is it pulls that package, compressed into one file, down for you, and then from there it decompresses it, I believe, and distributes the files where they need to go. However, a copy of that compressed file is still left on your system, and so that option removes those package tarballs, but it only removes the ones of programs that you do not also have installed. So if you have, say you installed the Chrome web browser at one time, but then later you decided to go with Firefox, kind of mirroring like what we did with our ISO. We used to offer Chromium in our ISO by default, and now by default it's Firefox. So, similar to that. Anyways, you say you used to have Chrome, but you don't anymore. You still actually have that source tarball lying around in your system. So the clear cache, as it says, it removes uninstalled packages as well as uninstalled packaged tarballs from your system. The third option down, I found out when I was looking up exactly what it did, because again, I implemented these options almost a year ago, so some of them I myself was slightly vague on. I found that I actually labeled it slightly incorrectly. A more accurate description for it would be clear cache in parentheses aggressive. So that is now what it is, because instead of just dealing with uninstalled things, it removes all stored tarballs on your system. So even programs you have installed. So say you have installed Firefox, going with that same metaphor. You would still have, even if you did the clear cache, it would only remove the Chrome tarball because you have that package uninstalled. You've uninstalled Chrome, and so it feels, oh yeah, I can remove this thing. Well, say you still want to clear some space out, and so you're willing to remove the Firefox tarball as well, because you're not using it, it doesn't really matter. So the more aggressive option lets you do that. It clears all tarballs, even the ones of programs that have been installed. The one thing with this is we labeled it aggressive, one, because it does more, but also because it can be slightly more risky. Odds are it won't affect you, but it can sometimes. Say you want to roll back some changes, things aren't working for you, you can normally default on that tarball and just install it again from that, or maybe you could find an older tarball version on your system and just install it from that. This would make it so you couldn't. That's normally not a problem. We actually have a downgrade option in our installer under the repair tab, I believe, and that will allow you to pull down old tarballs from the internet. However, say you don't have access to internet. Maybe the affected package was the network manager. That's a problem. In that case, you would want a local tarball of an older version. So that's why we have it labeled as more aggressive, and that is why there's also a slight warning in the description. For instance, the tooltip says, removes all stored tarballs on your system. We covered that. While very effective at saving space, it really is, it saves a lot of space. This can also leave you with nothing to fall back on if something goes wrong. A safer option would be to simply clear your cache, the non-aggressive option. So those are the main things. I was surprised that I myself had labeled the clear cache, the more aggressive option, incorrectly, but now it's fixed, and there's fairly descriptive tooltips for every option in there, for both the system maintenance tab and the repair one. Should help, I like to think, and maybe make things easier.